What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. We are live breaking down Game 22 of the regular season. The Toronto Maple Leafs defeat the Minnesota Wild in Minnesota at the 2 p.m. afternoon game. 4-3, go to 12-5-5 on the season. Goals from Mitch Marner, Zach Aston-Reese getting his third, Calle Jarnkrok, and William Nylander with the game-winning goal. Matt Murray had an interesting game. He made some big saves. Ultimately, his stats aren't going to say he had the greatest performance ever, but if you're going to look at a guy who got away with a whole bunch of knocking the post off and potential delay of games, that was a pretty successful one for Murray as well, as he got away with it about 4 different times. A couple of them were quite obvious that he did it intentionally, but nonetheless, he does manage to get away with it. So ends up working out well. Mark Daigle saying, hey, Zach, Murray stood on his head. I think he played a great game. Stats aren't going to say that it was spectacular. He did have 28 saves, 3 goals against, and an .893 save percentage. But Murray was pretty good. And yet again, he gives this Leafs team an opportunity to win, and they managed to do so. But all in all, given the fact that this Leafs team is sitting here without Morgan Rielly, TJ Brodie, Jake Muzzin, Jordy Ben now, and on the flip side of that, you're having to put in Victor Mete, Mac Hollowell, and you're elevating Giordano, Hall, Sandin, Liljegren to play much heavier minutes, Rasmus Sandin having to quarterback power play 1. That is a big change. And one thing I heard Dave Poulin talk about the other day, and I think it is a great point when it comes to this, is not only do you lose those guys and what they can bring to the table for your team, but you also lose what they do for a partner. All 3 of those guys are capable of helping elevate somebody else. All 3 of those guys play an important piece in the tandem in which they play in. Whether it's Morgan Rielly playing with Timothy Liljegren, providing him some type of veteran presence, or Jake Muzzin being a calming presence alongside of Justin Hall, or if it's Giordano sitting there with Sandin, having to shuffle those around, play with different partners, and lose those big pieces, it is a massive change. So for them to manage to get away with a win against the New Jersey Devils, snapping their 13-game win streak when they were looking to get to 14, and then going in here against Minnesota and winning this one against them in a tough game for them to play in Minnesota, 2 p.m. on Friday after Thanksgiving. Man, it's good to walk away with wins from these. It's good to walk away from wins. The other thing you're looking at here is Mitch Marner continues on with his point streak, making it 15 games now with that goal that he scored earlier in the first period. It looked like the Leafs might have an opportunity to run away with it, but ultimately Minnesota is a team that's not going to give up. Craig Harrison saying that save on Kaprizov when Minnie had the goalie pulled was unreal. Yes, it was. Kaprizov basically had an empty net to shoot in, and that guy is no scrub. Like, Kirill Kaprizov is a legitimate player in the NHL. He's a legit goal scorer, and for Matt Murray to get across, make that save, like, what a game. What a game for Matt Murray. It was a sweat all the way through to see if the Leafs would be able to pull this one out, and they do. So good stuff from the Toronto Maple Leafs here. But one thing that's interesting is these patterns are continuing to follow what they were essentially last season. A crappy October, a very good November. You get good goaltending to help you through some of it, some injuries with guys going out. We're basically following along the same game script here, and it's weird to watch. It's weird to watch. It's almost an eerie feeling having to go through this yet again from this Leafs team, because more and more it continues to build that in the back of your head of like, are we going to get the same result as last year? Now, I don't want to focus on that right now because we are talking about Game 22 here against the Minnesota Wild, so we'll mostly focus on that. But it is a weird underlying feeling of all of this. So if anybody wants to call in here tonight and discuss what went on or their predictions for the future or how they're feeling about this decor, make sure to send me a message. Join the Discord. The link to join the Discord is in the description of this. We can also I can also send the link to join right now into the chat. So if anyone wants to call in, make sure to send a message, let us know, and we will get on here. We will get people on here. But Yeah, as far as this Leafs game here goes tonight, it's a good one. It's you're looking at that one Maple Leafs fan here saying W win without 4D men. It's a big thing to have that happen, to be able to battle through these. You have to be able to overcome adversity. You have to be able to gut out some wins, and that's exactly what this team did. That is exactly what this team did here tonight against Minnesota. Devin Sr. saying Sandin had a really good game. I was worried there when he was limping to the bench. Lucky he is okay. I was a bit worried as well. I mean, you're already looking at a situation where you got 4 of your 6 defensemen out, and then now down goes your guy who's quarterbacking power play 1, a guy who has to lug much heavier minutes. You're hoping he can take a step forward with this happening and take a step into the role of maybe a Morgan Riley or Mark Giordano, what they were doing prior to all those injuries. And all of a sudden he's pulling his groin, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. John D'Souza, remember one thing, we're pulling these games off with our second and third string defensemen. Yeah, that's fair. That one Maple Leafs fan, our defense without 4D men is better than it is with all of them. And I think that's an interesting point, because the other thing to remember with this is, like, when Morgan Riley went down and was placed on LTIR, Sheldon Keefe had a statement in the media where he basically said, sometimes we've played better with these guys out. And I think that a lot of it was a sense of urgency. And it's what happens when Matthews goes out. It's what happens if Marner goes out or Tavares goes out, where this team's like, oh no, we have to step up. You see it a lot of times from the depth forwards when those guys go down and they're not in the lineup, where the depth forwards step up and start contributing because they realize, like, hey, the top guys aren't going to be here to do so. They get some more minutes on them and they have to step up into those roles. It's also what happens with these defense when the top end guys go down and you have to fill in bigger shoes. You got to play more minutes. One thing for sure is that you're fighting for a position because you want to be in the lineup. You want to be given those more minutes and be relied upon even after the fact when those guys do come back. You want to find a way to push to be a trusted asset amongst this team, and a guy that Sheldon Keefe can look down the bench and say, hey, you go. We're in a penalty killing situation. Mac Hollowell, you can go. If he's looking at these guys and they're playing like garbage, he's not going to lean on them. He's going to lean on Giordano and Sandin and Liljegren, guys who have been around. So he needs Mete and Hollowell to step up here and play a bigger role. He's going to need Connor Timmins, if he gets into this lineup, to do something. So those guys end up having to step up. They have to have a sense of urgency. They know that they're not going to get sheltered with 8 to 10 minutes a night or even less than that. And Morgan Riley's going to play 24, 25, and he's going to bail them out. It's not anymore. It's not what's going to happen. So they have to fill in those shoes and become valuable members of this team. Become valuable members. Mr. True Mendez saying, Gio has been a cornerstone since the injuries to our main players on defense. He has been an absolute animal out there right now because he's having to play 24, 25 minutes a night. He's having to fill all those roles. He was a third pairing defenseman coming into the season. Right now, he's playing first pair. He's playing second power play. He's playing late game situations. When they need a goal, they're looking at Gio. When they need to shut down, they're looking at Gio. Penalty kill, look at Gio. Like, he is the guy who's going out there, and he is holding up right now. I mean, knock on wood that he can keep that up, that he can maintain a lot of this, because he is 39 years old. That's something that has to be remembered among all of it. But Mark Giordano, he's been a good asset here with this going on. And also, yeah, I do want to shout out. I didn't talk about it in the video yesterday. Wasn't sure if it was the appropriate place, but the passing of Borje Salming, what he meant to Leafs fans who got to watch him play. Obviously, I was not one of those people who got to watch, but what he meant to Leafs fans, the Leafs team, and what he meant to Swedish players in general, him breaking the barriers and kind of coming over here and setting the tone, and then also, him showing that Swedish players aren't just soft, skilled players. They're guys who can get in the mix, rough and tumble, and actually play hockey at a high level, at an intense level. So rest in peace to Borje Salming, because it's a sad passing. A lot of it is at some point everyone goes, but it is still sad, and it's very surreal that he was a guy who was here 2 weeks ago in Toronto, getting to see the Swedish players with Matt Sundin, old teammates of his, some of his close friends, getting to see him before he passed, and it's incredible that the Leafs were able to honor him before that happened. So rest in peace to Borje Salming, but do want to say that. And I mean, even seeing in the chats, like, won it for Borje. Yeah, it's a pretty cool moment. And, Jarn Krok and Nylander are going to take an extra little bit of pride being able to score here tonight, just off the news yesterday that Borje Salming passed away. So interesting stuff. And if you guys believe in anything as well, the game against the Devils was number 21 of the season. They won 2-1. The next day, Borje passed away. So it is nice that he got to feel the love from the fans in Toronto. If you guys are watching this right now, make sure to like this stream, and as well subscribe to this channel. You guys can turn on notifications. You get notified every single time we go live. So when we have weird occasions like this one, where you play at 2 p.m. on a Friday, you get notified instantly that we have gone live. Probably won't go for too long here today. Not going to be your typical hour and a half long stream, as I'm sure a lot of people have jobs that they're at and driving home and got to get home for dinner and stuff. So we won't run too long, but we do want to break down today's game. So let's address some of the stuff going on in the chat right now, because I think there's a lot of interesting things being said. Mark Deigel saying, kind of okay with the young guys being put in different situations now rather than later. I would agree. Test them out now. See what they're capable of doing. You'd rather run into this situation at games 19 through 26, 27, whatever it's going to be, when some of these guys can start filtering back into the lineup. Unknown what the situation on Jordy Ben might be. He's week to week. It hasn't, hasn't been confirmed when he will be coming back. They will reevaluate him as it goes along, but you'd rather be in this position now than a week, 2 weeks before playoffs, or during playoffs, all of a sudden guys start going down with injuries and you're like, oh no, Mac Hollowell's got to play. This guy gets an opportunity now. Connor Timmins is going to get a chance. Mete's getting to go back in here. Sandin and Liljegren get to log a whole lot longer minutes. So you get to see what these guys are made of and what they can do in big situations when they're killing penalties or running the power play, or it's a late game and you got to shut down. You get to see what these guys are made of in those situations. So it's good to see that happen. Gordon Graham saying Sandin with the Hall leg giveaway at the end. That's fine. Understand it. Throw your shots where you'd like to. I know that he didn't play the best game ever, but Sandin's looked pretty solid. And if you're going to throw shots like that, you got to realize the fact that at some point in this episode is coming, or this stream is coming, that Justin Hall is garbage. Justin Hall is hot garbage. At this point, the absolute most that they could even get back for him via trade would be a bag of pucks, because the guy stinks. He can't block anybody. He can't pick anybody up. He doesn't battle in front. He doesn't use his size. He doesn't hit guys. Every single time he bumps into anybody, he falls over. If he gets looked at the wrong way, he falls over. If the puck touches his stick, the first thing that he's doing is trying to find an opposing player, in this case a Minnesota Wild player, and go tape to tape with them. The guy is useless out on the ice. Actually, he's worse than useless. He is actually a negative in terms of what this Leafs team is able to do if he weren't on the ice. Him being out there is far more hurtful to this Leafs team than it is with him on the ice. The guy is a turnover machine, and he is 6 foot whatever for zero reason, because he is terrified of contact. Terrified of contact. So just remember that. The guy is bad. The guy is very bad. He has no place in this lineup. And if this team ever wants to win a Stanley Cup, he cannot be in this lineup. He cannot be in this lineup. So just remember, if you're going to throw some shots like that, that guy sucks. He's bad. So, pick away at a late Sandin turnover if you'd like, but just remember, in the grand scheme of things, pinpoint that Zuccarello late time goal. Watch the behind the net cam where Justin Hall stood there looking just up and around at nobody or nothing. And Zuccarello stood there wide open. He didn't box anybody out. He didn't pick anybody up. And Zuccarello puts it in the empty net. Michael saying, Zach, I guess you should go buy a pair of champagne glasses. 88% of the teams who are in the playoffs during the Thanksgiving break will make it in. Only 12% won't make it. I told you, Michael. I told you he was going to. They were going to make the playoffs. Just remember, Michael said, "Great show, Zach. If they make the playoffs, I will FedEx a bottle of champagne to you, mate." They will be making the playoffs. They will be making the playoffs. John D'Souza, Hall reminds me of Marty Merenson. He sucked for years, but the Leafs just couldn't get rid of him. Yeah. Yeah. And also Debo saying there was two guys in front of the net. Yeah, he picked neither of them up. He didn't get anybody. Like, I understand that it's a hard situation. It's 6-on-5, but he wasn't with anybody. He was just standing in no man's land. Either guy was on either side of him, and pops open to Zuccarello, and he buries. State of survival. Sandin had a nice open ice hit near the end. Yeah, he did. He did have a nice open ice hit at the end. He looked like he was fired up, and then after he had hurt his groin, like, comes back, was making hits. I mean, he has some turnovers. Honestly, most of these defensemen have had some pretty egregious turnovers, so yeah, they got to clean that up. But that's this whole Leafs team. It's unforced errors. It's unforced errors where they make. They need to clean those up because it's just a bad pass. It's missing guys' sticks. It's stick handling it into oblivion. Those are the situations that need to be fixed. They need to be adjusted. They need to be cleaned up because those are the things that will kill you come playoff time. Those are the things that will bite you in the ass when it becomes most important. That's what you've got to watch out for. Super chat here from Maxentius Decimus. Maxentius, thank you as always for the super chats. Maxentius saying Engvall, Kerfoot, Bunting, Poo-Poo, Murray, Marner, Yarncroke, fire. Engvall has started to pick it up a little bit, so I will disagree with that slightly. He has not been what he was last year, and he was pretty bad to start this season. I will give you that, but he started to pick it up. So it's not quite where it needs to be, but I'm not fully like, all right, I hate this guy. Or this guy sucks, like you can't put him in the lineup. He started to pick it up. Kerfoot, yeah, he's been bad lately. He has been very bad lately. And it's just like, it's what I talked about in the last stream with the Nick Robertson situation. What is he capable of? What is he doing effectively? What does he accomplish? And for Nick Robertson, it was nothing. He was going fast, he was hustling, and nothing was going on, so Sheldon Keefe pulled him. Kerfoot, I believe that the reason Sheldon Keefe is going to continue to allow him opportunities into this lineup, A, is because he's making $3.5 million, and B, because he's not really doing anything negative towards the team, but he's really not helping them at all. He's not accomplishing anything when he's out on the ice, and he's been making a whole lot more mental mistakes over the last little while that have just been very weird. He's trying things a little too hard. Maybe he's gripping his stick, maybe he's nervous about it and he knows he's not playing well, but he has not been doing that well. And Bunting, yeah, he's not been as effective, but the thing I want to also preach here is like, if Matthews isn't on a heater, then Bunting is going to naturally alongside him not look as great. I think Bunting hasn't been that good. I think he could be a lot better. I think maybe it got to his head a little bit. He started thinking like, hey, he was a little bit of a playmaker more than he actually is. But yeah, he's not been very good. I think they need to mix up who's on that first line there and maybe demote Bunting yet again. I don't know. It's just like you need some type of wake-up call along there to do something. Murray being incredible for me. I've been very happy with Matt Murray, especially over the last little while, kind of making Kyle Dubas look like a genius. Mitch Marner, fire. Like, the guy's been very, very good. 15-game point streak. He's been looking a whole lot better, but I still have my reservations in terms of attitude and if he's going to be able to... It's not really like, is he going to be able to put up 100 points? Like, sure, like, you could probably do that. He's skilled enough to do so, but what's going to happen when the going gets tough? Because Mitch Marner a lot of the times is the guy to show you that emotionally he's not strong enough to handle some of the things, and then that starts to seep into the rest of the team and how they act about things and how they feel about things, and that can become a problem for this lineup, especially one that is already mentally weak. Calle Jarnkrok, he's been picking it up. I'm not going to sit here and give him the most praise in the world, but he's definitely been picking it up. Nice to see him get a goal here tonight. And he's a feisty player. I mean, we kind of knew coming into the season what we'd be getting with him. I feel like we're starting to get to that level where we know, like, hey, this is the guy's potential. This is what he could be. It's basically a feistier Alex Kerfoot. That's pretty much what it is. Like, let's not beat around the bush. And right-handed at that. And let's see what he could be. And he's starting to make his way there. So I think that that's a good thing. But we'll see how it pans out over the next little while. Maxentius Decimus, I think Bunting has caused Matthews to struggle. I think... Okay, hold on. I want to clarify this. Auston Matthews is not struggling. Auston Matthews has not been bad. He just has yet to show us really his flashes of being the most dominant player on the ice. And I think that is leading us to sit here and be like, oh, he's struggling. It might just be a lull, but I threw it out there last stream, and I want people to remember, he's basically on pace for where he was last year through this many games, and he started six games into last season. So through his personal number of games played, last year versus this year, he's basically at the same point that he was last year anyways. So it's not overly panicked. I just think that he's not as dominant right now, and that leads us to come to that conclusion. And Debo saying here, and this is what I would agree with, Matthews being good, he's playing hard. Yeah, he's not floating. He's got to get used to grinding for goals. I think that that's fair. It's hard because, like, you're not seeing as the offensive production you really got from him in the past year. And so you start to kind of come to the conclusion, like, yep, he's struggling. Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying, like, it's because he's not with Marner. It's because he's not with Marner. I just also want to point out and just say in defense of William Nylander, I don't think it's because of William Nylander, okay? William Nylander is still producing. He's still getting points. He's still scoring at 5v5 on the power play, late game situations. William Nylander is still getting goals. So it's not really a concern about whether or not his line mates are producing. Nylander is still getting goals. It's just, like, look at Mitch Marner alongside John Tavares. John Tavares to start this season has been a stud, and we've been sitting here going, wow, look at JT, look at JT. Well, he's playing alongside Marner. John Tavares is a premier goal scorer, but he's not a guy who's going to really create as many opportunities as Matthews can for himself. So it does better suit Tavares to have Marner along with him. I think Nylander is fine on that line because Nylander is a playmaker as well. I think the drop-off right now is coming with the left winger. I think Bunting isn't playing as well. And I think that this is not necessarily a situation, honestly, where it's like, hey, that winger is causing Matthews, or those line mates are causing Matthews to struggle or struggle offensively. I think he just hasn't turned it on. He hasn't got there. Because you can sit here and blame Bunting and blame Nylander for it as much as you'd like. Matthews was doing this and struggling like this with Marner as well. And actually, it got to the point where they had to switch Marner off of his line to see if they could change things up. And it did. Nylander going on his line started to wake up Matthews. He started to get a few more points. He scored in every other game coming into tonight over the last 6. And obviously didn't score in the Devils game. Now doesn't score here tonight. So, hey, maybe he's due. But like coming into it, he was fine. They were fine. They just weren't producing at a dominant pace like we've seen them do before. I think one of the other things is like you're looking at that line just being like, well, this guy scored 60, he should score 60 again or 70 goals this year. He's not on pace to do so. This is a fail. He was doing that with Marner as well. Mr. Trumenda saying the bar that Matthews has set in the past when he plays good, some fans become concerned because he's not consistently played great. Yeah, I think that that's fair. Some of it saying JT is producing a lot since Marner has been on his line. Coincidentally? No, not saying coincidentally. And also, go look at the game logs. He was producing before Marner got onto that line as well. Like John Tavares was still getting points, and him and William Nylander, we kept coming onto these live shows, and people in the chat continued to say, John Tavares and William Nylander are the most productive players right now. They're doing the most. They're doing all this. Like, they're getting things done. So he was doing it, and then Marner went there and just added to it. And now Marner's getting it going. And that first line is still getting points. Maxentius Decimus, the worrying thing is that line spent all game in their own zone, not talking about production. Yeah. Yeah, they struggled with playing in their own zone tonight, today, this afternoon. It's trippy, 2 p.m. game. But I don't know. We'll see. It hasn't necessarily been a full-blown issue where everything is in their own zone all the time. So I'm not really going to start smashing the panic button on it yet. But it definitely needs to be fixed. And, guys, look at big picture here as well. You have young, new defensemen in here and guys playing these massive roles against better players coming against them. Some of it can be harder for the D-men to get pucks out. Breaking pucks out. Maybe they're not as used to the NHL speed or the physicality coming at them or the pressure that they're facing, which can make it harder to get pucks to the forwards. I'm not saying these are excuses, but I'm just saying this is a factor. These are factors. Some of it saying, is Matthews playing hurt maybe? I don't know. And I think that this is a point of contention with Leafs fans right now where everyone continues to look back at that Jamie Benn cross-check, and I do too. And at this point, I keep looking at it and I'm wondering, should we just rest him a little bit? Sit out a game or two. We're going to be fine. We're going to be in a good spot. I guess now becomes harder than ever to sit him out, just reasonably sit him out to rest him, given the fact that you're missing Riley, Brody, Muzzin, Ben now. But I think that maybe that's a factor in terms of why he's not being as dominant right now. Maybe he is a little bit hurt. Maybe you need to get the guy an opportunity to get back to that 100%, or even if he can get back to 95%, because most guys aren't playing 100% all the time. I don't know. It's an interesting spot. I don't really know what to do about it, but that has been a thing. And I just want to make sure it's clear. I don't think it's appropriate to blame his line mates for his lack of production. I think Matthews himself just has not looked like himself. Handshake line respect. I don't get too excited for Marner's regular season play. He has 2 goals in 3 years in the playoffs. Like, I can't dispute it. It's just, it is what it is. And I'm not going to sit here and get overly hyped about it either. And the other thing is everyone can sit here and get all excited about Marner and Matthews playing together and Matthews scoring 60 and et cetera, et cetera. And if it doesn't translate to the playoffs, then what use is it? So we'll see. John D'Souza. The players the Leafs should not trade: Riley, Brody, Gio, Lily, Matthews, Marner, Moneylander, JT, Murray. Think that's fair. Super chat here from Some of It. Thank you, Some of It, for the super chat. It is greatly appreciated. And reading your comment, he says, appreciate what you do, Zach. And when are we getting our dose of Goody? Haven't seen him in some time. Yeah, so I've talked about it before. Goody will come on periodically. As it always was, Goody is primarily an NBA guy. He's always like a basketball first guy. And then his job right now has been very, very busy. So it doesn't really help him to kind of balance 2 sports. Like last year, he was going from one stream to another where he was doing Raptors live streams during the game, then Leafs live streams post game. And it was just becoming a lot for him. So some of that he kind of had to bow out a little bit. And basically, rather than making him a main guy who's going to come on here and be on every single show, we're kind of just going to move to a point here where Goody will come on periodically, but he won't be main. The other thing is, like, by the way, with what Goody's doing, a lot of it has to do with some cool stuff that we are working on with Digest Media. If you guys follow the Raptors Digest, which you can subscribe to their channel as well, Jay's Digest as well, you guys will see there are some very cool things that are about to be coming here for the Digest Media team, and a lot of that has to do with the work Goody is doing behind the scenes. So we're excited to see some of it come through and start to happen. So big shout outs to Goody. But yeah, appreciate you asking about him. And also thank you for the super chat as well. RJWI saying, Zach, I'll co-host with you. All right. You've never even called in. If you want to call in, you can call in anytime. At this point, like, I don't know. You guys can let me know what you think, but like, I kind of feel like for the most part, yeah, if you guys want to call in and we'll see how it goes and we can kind of test some things out, I'd be happy to have people come on in and out. But I think like right now as it is, like I'm probably going to hold down. No offense to anybody, but I'm probably just going to continue to hold it down as the person who's on here every day. I think I'm capable of doing that and I enjoy doing it. So yeah, I like getting to talk to you guys, getting to host this and just getting to react to Leafs games after the game. So, but yeah, appreciate it. Craig Harrison saying, if they can figure out the 3-on-3 OT, they should be well over 100 points again. Yeah, maybe. I think last year, if they could have figured out 3-on-3 as well, they would have like blown past 115. They were just not good in OT. That's what it is. They play run and gun OT. They do 3-on-3, and where it's basically like they possess the puck for a period of time, then they decide to make an attack. Next thing you know, they're left exposed. The puck's coming down the other way, but yeah, that's more of a season-long issue as opposed to here tonight. We didn't have to deal with that one here tonight. Handshake line respect. Goody should have made an appearance and at least broke the news to us instead of all the speculation that he went to the Habs fan base.
Good one, Randy. Good one.
That is a good one. I respect that. But no, Goody did not go to the Habs fan base. We do have a Habs Digest channel, so if you guys are interested in checking that out, you guys can do so. Mark Deigel, thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. Jeff McBride, did you and Goody break up? We're on a break. handshake line respect. Actually, oh no, I read that one. Some of it saying if you don't blow a lead, you don't need to go to OT. Yep, that is very, very fair. I do not one bit have any issue with that statement. Much rather just hold the lead and not have it let it get to OT. But yeah, it's quite unfortunate. Care. Hey, Leafs are looking amazing. They for sure had a turkey dinner for lunch, and the tryptophan makes you sleepy. They still won and look hot in their suits. Yeah, they did look. I mean, I can't really say that they came out slow here tonight. I don't necessarily know that they did come out slow. I think they looked fine to start it. They just didn't have necessarily the legs to close it that you would really like them to have. So, yeah, I mean, you get the 2 points, you walk away from it. Matt Murray looked good. Marner continues his point streak. Like, even Matthews does get an assist on a beautiful shot from William Nylander. But I'm going to look up that word right now, too. I just saw some of it. No, it's tryptophan in Turkey. Melatonin is what you take before you go to bed if you can't sleep. That's what you take, melatonin there. All right, let's get into the Austin Matthews play of the day. Austin Matthews play of the day. Man, what do I want to make the Austin Matthews play of the day? Murray save on Kaprizov at the end of the game. Honestly, this could just be an award. This could be like the player of the day, and I'm gonna give this one to Murray for what he did. I think that an .893 save percentage doesn't do him justice for the way that he played. Even some of the veteran savvy moves of knocking the post off, like that deserves some respect. Being able to do that, knock the post off, relieve some pressure, put a pause on the game. The one was all pretty obvious that it was an accident. Like, he's sliding from one side to the other and ends up pulling the post off. So I don't think it was intentional. The other ones were pretty intentional and they were quite obvious, but I'm giving it to the Matt Murray save. And Michael saying Murray was the reason the team is winning. Can't imagine if he wasn't playing tonight. I agree with that. I mean, the guy was a stud. John D'Souza saying Murray for Vezina. Let's get the conversation started. Matt Murray for Vezina. I'm bought in. I'm in on the Matt Murray for Vezina train. I like it. Let's start it. Let's get it going as Leafs fans here. Let's pump it up. Matt Murray deserves to be in the Vezina conversation. You know what this does? It does two things. One, it gives him a little bit of a confidence boost. And two, it is a saving grace in the media to be like, yep, Kyle Dubas traded for this guy from Ottawa who was desperate to get away from him to the point where they legitimately ate 25% of the salary. And now he's going to win the Vezina. Let's get the conversation started. If that happens, Kyle Dubas will be
having the time of his life.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Kyle Dubas will definitely be having the time of his life. Let's go through some of these comments here before I get to my grades of the game. Some of it saying it's a myth anyways. You need to eat 8 pounds of turkey to be effective enough to sleep. Michael Murray save. Dyslexic. People just getting tired from eating too much crap. Yep, that's completely valid. Craig Harrison, one big Thanksgiving dinner, and I'm out like a light on the couch with the TV going. I think that's the perfect thing for the NFL. You watch 2 NFL games during the day. By the time you get to the third one, you're getting a little sleepy. You're around family. You've ate a ton of food. Next thing you know, lights out. See you later. And it's a good nap. Mr. True. Oh, actually, some of it saying I don't trust Chalgren. Well, I mean, he is a third goalie, so hopefully it doesn't have to get to the point where we do have to trust him. But yeah, valid point. Mr. Truman does saying, yo, Zach, how do you feel about Hollowell's game thus far? Before his first game, apparently the consensus was he plays like Hall but small. Did you see that through 2 games? Where did you get that comparison? Who told you that? I never saw that. If it was out there, then maybe I'm just being naive or not paying attention. But no, I never saw that. I did not think that. Here's the thing with here's the thing with Hollowell. What he is a skilled puck-moving defender, and I think right now he's probably going to be a little hesitant to show that because he wants to be trusted, he wants to be relied upon. He wants to show Sheldon Keefe that he can play defensively, he can do things well that way. So, yeah, I don't know. I think there's more to come from his game. Oh, Justin Bourne heard that? Oh. Interesting. I don't know. I did not pick up on that at all. He's way more mobile. He played the penalty kill tonight. He looked aware defensively, which I think is a good thing. But yeah. Murray for Vezina. Murray signs a team-friendly deal, 3-year deal in the offseason. Maybe. Masset Actus, does this mean we're going hard for Bedard? No, I think this means we're the opposite of hard for Bedard. We're steering right away from hard for Bedard. Mark Dago, Sammy is coming back. I think we have a good tandem this year if they're healthy. I would agree. I think the tandem goalie situation in the NHL is a very, very new thing that's being introduced over the past couple of seasons where you're realizing you don't necessarily need that superstar number 1 guy right now. You just need a guy who can you just need guys who can turn it on at the right time and get going. Would like to sleep says, Matt Murray is my hometown boy. We knew he had it here in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Yeah, he's been a stud so far. I like it. I like what he's done. Masset Actus saying, what's wrong with AM34? Again, I think he just hasn't been himself. Some guys have slow starts. It can happen. We've seen years where Ovechkin or Crosby starts maybe a little bit slow, and all of a sudden by the end of the year, they're over point per game. They're firing on all cylinders, and nobody's panicking about them. So we'll see. I think Matthews can figure it out. He also is playing well in other areas of the ice. He's playing pretty well in other aspects of his game. He's bought into stuff. He's playing hard. He's playing physical. He's hitting guys. He's blocking shots. He's doing a lot of the right things. So I'm not at panic mode with Austin Matthews right now. Michael saying, Zach, how about the super chat? How about change the super chat to Superman Murray? We could probably change some animations up here. I think that might be in there, in valid to do. I just left it because, pay some homage to Jack Campbell. I think he's a good guy. We liked him here. He's a pretty good goalie for us. Didn't end up getting it done, but we all liked him. Mike, Care say, Michael, how are we going to make the super chat make that amazing Slurpee sound if we change it? I can do that. I can do it. John D'Souza, Samsonov can be a very good goalie with experience. Yeah, I think so too. I think this is a good signing. I think Kyle Dubas did a good job there. John D'Souza, Hall should join us in the same course. Gordon Graham. Savage. All right. Digging through tonight here, Simmons in, Mete in. Simmons looked fine. He didn't look like anything special. He had some big hits. He leveled a guy at center ice, which was nice to see. But otherwise, he wasn't really as impactful. He's more just like a big guy that could be out there in case Ryan Reeves or Foligno was going to try to do something and be little bits of pests or goons or whatever. Wayne Simmons was insurance, and we didn't really need it that much. Mete in, obviously, because Jordy Ben goes out. Connor Timmins, they wanted him to skate with the team. Before getting in his first game, I think we'll see him soon. I think they would probably pull Mete first, put Timmins in, see what happens there. I think Hollowell has looked pretty good, but never know. That could just be a revolving door between those 3 guys. Mitch Marner continues his 15-game point streak. Marner has looked like his offensive prowess has come back. Matt Murray has continued to be an absolute stud. One thing we've struggled with is being kind of sloppy in our own zone. Like, one thing to go on to that is, like, it's not just about struggling in our own zone. It's about making bad decisions or bad passes or not getting pucks out of the zone. That's been a massive problem for us and for this team. So I think they need to clean a lot of that up. That sloppiness is not great. I mean, even looking at Gio on the penalty kill where he tried to clear it, it gets picked off the blue line, kind of raises some havoc in our zone. And then they obviously score. I don't know why I can't stop yawning. Leafs did respond immediately, though. That Zach Aston-Reese camp line comes out, puts the pressure on, gets down into the Minnesota zone, and I do need some sleep. I am exhausted. I've just been grinding on work and getting up and doing shows and stuff. It's been tiring, but Zach Aston-Reese manages to get his third goal of the season, just a ridiculous one, turns around, spins, fires it at the net, goes in on the ice past Marc-Andre Fleury, so that was real weird to see that. I'm just reading some of the comments about trades. I'm not going to touch on too much of that here, but also that one goal that ended up on the Boldy goal was kind of a weird timely change. Mete ends up in a weird situation, having to try to get over to recover and get in a spot to take over for where Gio, like he thought Gio was going to be. He didn't think Gio was coming on the ice. Gio ends up getting over on the ice. He tries to recover back. JT doesn't pick up Boldy. Boldy buries. It was an interesting game, but you know what? It's it was a good win. It's a solid win. It's one that you can walk away from. So with that being said, let's get into our grades of the game. All right, grades of the game. Let me know your grades in the chat. Basically, I'm keeping this one simple. I'm going with an... You know what? I'm going with a B+. I know that we had to fight through the fact that we're missing all those defense, but we were 0 for 3 on the power play, and the power play is starting to become very concerning to me. They have a couple games where they score a couple, and they look good, and then everyone says, like, oh, the power play's figuring it out, and then they look terrible. Like, that's the problem, is they don't just not score a couple goals, or, like, they don't just not score. They look very bad. They struggle to enter the zone. They can't keep possession of it. They can't make passes. They turn the puck over. They give up shorthanded opportunities. Like, it becomes very, very bad when they're in these bad spells, and it's not manageable. It's not something that can sustain. So that's where a big problem for me comes with this power play. And then you get minimal shots. You go 0 for 3 on the power play. Like, not good. Matt Murray played a pretty good game. 28 saves, 3 goals against, .893 save percentage. I don't think that save percentage is necessarily like doing justice to the way that he played, but that was his stat line. I thought he played pretty well here tonight. He gave them a chance to win. And then as far as this team holding onto the lead, it was kind of tough to watch that happen where you go up 4-2 and then Minnesota is all over them with pressure, and it was kind of basically getting scary that Minnesota might score. It was just some mad scrambling where some of that involves the fact that it's younger guys and guys who aren't used to being in the lineup all the time, but still, you kind of would like to clean some of that up. Leafs fans, thank you guys so much for tuning in here today. Game 22 of the regular season versus the Minnesota Wild. The Toronto Maple Leafs win this one 4-3 in an absolute thriller. Even shots on goal, 0 for 3 on the power play, but Matt Murray, 28 saves, 3 goals against, an .893 save percentage. Goals coming from Mitch Marner, making it a 15-game point streak. Zach Aston-Reese gets his third of the season. Calle Jarnkrok happy to get on the board in honor of Borje Salming, and William Nylander continues to roll with the game winner here tonight, moving to 12-5-5 on the season with this win. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you guys all tomorrow night after the game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Enjoy your night. Keep believing.